There, everyone. This is just gonna be a quick video. I don't know, actually, it might not be quick. Who knows? You know me. I never have a quick video. But this is gonna be about my recent experience in moving in Japan. If you notice the background, it's exactly the same because I haven't moved yet. I'm in the process of moving. Like I'm packing and getting ready to, move. I'm actually moving next week, but I'm not talking about the moving itself. I'm talking about the process of getting a new apartment, which has been, interesting. I've done it before actually, and it was a little bit on the, different side, I guess, this time than it was previously. And I'll talk about those briefly because, when I first moved to Japan, I had I got an apartment near the school I was going to, and it I got it like right away. It was the first one I picked, and I just was like, okay, this one's close. Let's do that. And I got that, and it was simple. It was really easy. Um, and I did, and after I got a job and moved to the place I'm at now, I literally found the place I am now online in like a regular, not like a, just like a regular, probably Chintai is the site. It's like a rental site where you can find houses to rent. And I found this one because it was in between um, downtown Tokyo and my job. And I've been here for 8 years in this house for 8 years, not in Japan. But I've been in this apartment for 8 years, and my lease is up in like 2 weeks. And I thought like I'm just gonna move somewhere different, just to get a new place, get a kind of new start on the things, I guess. So I'm moving, and I'm moving not actually far away from here. I'm moving like 5 stations away. It's like really not a huge move in terms of distance. Um, but it's changing a few things for me. I'm no longer living in Tokyo. Paradoxically, um, I'm actually closer to Shibuya than I'm like 15 minutes from Shibuya right now is my apartment. And by moving out of Tokyo, I'm actually only 10 minutes by train from Shibuya after I move. It's weird, but I'm going to be living in Kanagawa Prefecture, and it's it's all right. I like Kanagawa a lot, actually. I looked for a lot of places in Kanagawa before I picked this space, and I'll talk about that a bit. Why I had to look for so many places, because that's the part that's kind of the, I don't know, main drive of the video. And going into it, I was like, because like my previous experiences were like stupid quick. Like I just went to, I went to a realtor and I was like, I need an apartment, find me something. Or I had a place already in mind and I went to a realtor and said, show me this place. And they showed it to me and I thought, that's good, I'll take it. Like it's the stupidest way to find an apartment, really, because like I could have shopped around and got somewhere bigger or somewhere cheaper or somewhere actually close to my job. And not that I'm not now, but previously it was farther away. Like my job actually moved the location, and it just happened to be, I mean, lucky for me, it moved to a place actually closer to me. So upon that, I started my apartment search, and it started off bad already because like I thought I had until the end of next month to find a place, and it turned out like suddenly, forgot the date of I thought, for some reason, I thought my release was up at the June 26th. I don't know why, because it was actually up June 6th. And I was like, oh, that's bad because I haven't even started looking for apartments when the 1 month notification came that I needed to give to either, cancel my lease or renew my lease. And that is not so hot. So, suddenly I'm like, oh shit, I gotta find a place like in 2 weeks or I'm gonna be screwed. But I thought, like, geez, last time I just went to the realtor and the first place I looked at, I was just like, oh, that's good. I'll take that. So I did the same thing this time. Like, I looked up a bunch of places online, and it's even, imagine like the difference between now and 8 years ago. It's like super easy to do it now. There's so many more sites and so many more like ways to do it. I did it entirely through my phone, like on an application. So there's that. It was good. And I'm walking through, like walking through this app, like looking for apartments, and I found a bunch of places like right off, like that were pretty good. Like on paper, they looked pretty good. Saying, I mean, because I'll go into that too. But I went to the realtor, um, and I went to a realtor close to the apartments I was looking at originally, and the apartments. It was funny because like the realtor was. I mean, he's a good guy. I think like he was a really nice. He was pretty honest too because like he did things that you wouldn't expect someone who was like wanted to get commission from renting for like a rental commission. So like I talked to the guy, and he was like really glad that I could speak Japanese first off, but also like we were talking a bit, and I had a big list of apartments. Not a huge list, but there was like three in the area right away that I was like, yeah, let's look at these ones because they're pretty big and they're not so expensive. And he was like, all right, let's go look at them. So we they're all like walking distance from the company, so we just walked to a few, and that was all right. You just like go in there with the realtor, and they show you the house, and they're like, hey, this is what it's like. So this is where it went off the rails a little bit. The first place we went to was on paper and in the pictures of the apartment. Like there's pictures that show the inside of the apartment before you can look at it to see it looks nice. But when I went there, the building was this weird nightmare building. I don't even know how to explain it. It wasn't like a nightmare building in the sense that it was like rat infested or like falling apart, because it wasn't. It was like, you know, all right, except like if if you know like Lovecraft stories, there's stories called Dreams in the Witch House, where the house is built with this weird geometry that makes like you know that summons things and does weird things to the people who are living there. And this building was like that. Like you'd go, like it was built in the like with non-Euclidean geometry or something. It was like so strange to go through it because like the apartment was on the fifth floor, and the first floor was like this like a bizarre factory that was closed that day, and I don't know if there was actually a factory in there, but there was a loading dock on the first floor, and we're we're going up to the fifth floor to look at the apartment, and it's the staircases you go up, and they're some of them are nicely lit, but you'll go up and then it'll be like usually like when you're going up a staircase in a building, they're all connected. You just kind of go up in a you know like a spiral. Um, but these ones, like they'd go up and then there'd like be like a weird, like you'd come out into like this hallway that would end at just another way into the door up this thing. It was like the staircases were built in a way that like they weren't connected, but there was nothing else in there to warrant them not being connected. It was just really weird. So like it was everything was off in some way like that. So you'd like go through, and then there'd be like a like you'd go up three steps and there'd be like a weird landing for no reason, and then like it would just continue up the steps more. And it was just like such a strange kind of function for the building. And then like the apartment itself, I mean the inside was nice, but like it was in that building was just like creeping me out. And like it was weird because like it wasn't well lit in the hallways either, and like by the time you got to the fifth floor, it was just like this solid dark hallway you were walking through, and like I was just thinking like I'm gonna be murdered by interdimensional creatures when I get to this apartment. But it didn't actually, obviously I didn't get murdered, but we looked at the place, and there was no place to put my washing machine, and like it was listed to have a place, it just didn't. Not a realistic place anyway, unless your washing machine was like 10 inches by 20 inches or something. Like it's an unrealistic washing machine size. So that one was a bust. And then we went to this other place after that where the guy, like, when we looked at the apartment, the guy was like, the realtor was like, we should probably go after looking at it, because he was like, no, you probably shouldn't rent this place. And he's like, I gotta come back here, don't tell me any stories of any like crazy stories, because I was like telling him like how it reminded me of like the the witch house in the Lovecraft story, and he was like he was getting freaked out. But after that we went to this other place, and it was actually an all right place. The building itself was nice. Like, it wasn't new or anything, but it was like a standard kind of concrete city building you'd expect. And we went in there, and the apartment was dirty, but like it was like somebody had moved out and not cleaned. Basically, it wasn't dirty like overall, because the whole building wasn't dirty. It was just like they hadn't cleaned the building yet to rent it, which they usually do beforehand. And it was sort of like that. I mean, that's not the bad part though. When we went in there and we looked around, I thought, oh, well, this place isn't bad. It was actually like they did renew some parts of it, so like, you know, it was like a pretty new looking interior, even though the building itself wasn't that new. But it suddenly, when we were there was like this bizarre music coming from nowhere. We couldn't pinpoint it either, because like it came, you could only hear it on one side of the apartment, and we'd go on the balcony and you could hear it louder, but you couldn't, nobody could pinpoint the direction it was coming from. Like, it was coming somewhere, but like, who knows? And like the realtor was getting freaked out about that too. He's like, I've never heard this before, I don't know where it's coming from. And we tried to pinpoint it, but we couldn't. So there was that. And the third place we went to was like, it was, they couldn't get we couldn't get in because the management company hadn't left a key for them to use to get into the house. So we went there, but we couldn't get in. And so the first day was kind of a bust. And I was expecting like, oh, I'll just be able to get an apartment today, and it didn't work out that way. So I went back to the drawing board and got more apartments. I looked up about 20 apartments, just like 20 that were like in good and various areas. And we went back to the realtor, and we found this is where it got like not so good, because like I had all these apartments listed, and like suddenly it was like racism central, because like the guy would call to check the availability, and then it would be like, oh no, this guy can't rent it because he's a foreigner. And that happened a lot, like way more than I hadn't actually encountered that before in my previous apartment searches. Like, I had an interview when I did my for this place, where like when he came, and I was like, yeah, I want to rent it. I had to like talk to the owner, but it was like mostly because like the rent is paid directly to the landlord in this place. So like, if he couldn't understand me, like if we couldn't talk, it would be kind of weird. But I spoke Japanese. We talked for like 10 minutes, and he was like, yeah, you can rent it, whatever. But in this case, like, there wasn't any of that. It was just like, nope, no foreigners allowed. And you'd think that wouldn't be prevalent, like in, I don't know, the current year, 2016. Uh, because you just kind of figure that kind of stuff is illegal, but not in Japan. It's not. So like, if you are, and like, the realtor said like, it's not really for you so much as it's like they don't want to have Chinese and Koreans in there. And I thought like, that doesn't make me feel better. I understand like, it's not direct racism against me personally. It's not like I met the people and they're like, fuck that guy specifically, he can't rent the place. It was more just like this general, we don't want foreigners in our apartment because it causes trouble that we don't want to deal with. And I can understand that sort of, in the sense that like, maybe you don't want to have like someone who you can't communicate with, or someone you can't deal with, or someone who is like going to trash the place. And apparently like Chinese language students or whatever, students who come over from China, are like notoriously bad at doing that. That's what the this is what the realtor said. This isn't my personal opinion. Um, and so there's kind of this blanket rule of like no foreign people, and it's it's a little disheartening when you're like looking for apartments and you need to find something, and like half of the places that look good are just like no, right off the bat, like before you can look at it, before you can like the realtor can say like he speaks Japanese, like I've lived here for 11 years. um I I work as a translator. It's not like I can't function in the thing, like I can't function in society or something. It's not like I'm gonna make a lease and run off or anything. I'm there's not really a danger of that. So the but I didn't get even the opportunity to explain that. And like the the realtor was saying like, yeah, you could probably some of those places, if you talk to the landlord, you could probably do it, but a lot of them are just run by management companies that aren't going to go through the trouble to bother the landlord to ask. So generally, if they just have a blanket no, it's just going to be a no. And you just kind of have to. It's just kind of a shitty thing you have to accept. And that's basically what I did. The shitty thing I accepted was that like I was pretty much like locked out of it. At least half, probably more than half of the apartments I wanted. I want to say I had a list of 20. I probably saw 5 out of those. And some of them were but that's not because I was a foreigner. Maybe a chunk of those were, but some of them were just taken or whatever. But eventually, I found 3 or 4. Actually, on the final day, where I was like really getting worried, where I was just like, I gotta find something really soon, or I'm gonna be really fucked because my lease is gonna be up, and I'm not gonna have a place to go. So I went to 5 places in a day, which is like doesn't sound like a lot, but when you're in Japan, it's not like these places were really close to each other. And like even though the realtor is driving me around, um it's not easy to park and go to a place. Like you got to park. Sometimes you got to park like 10 minutes away and walk, and then you're like sitting in this apartment looking at stuff, and then you got to walk 10 minutes back, and then you got to drive a half an hour to the next place or whatever, and like suddenly you've like spent an entire day looking at 5 apartments. And that's basically what happened to me. And some of them were good, and some of them were not so good. Some of them like they'd look good on paper, and you'd go in and you'd be like, well, this building is shaped too weird to even fit any of my stuff. What am I gonna do? Um, so that a lot of that was like a lot of the problem, where it'd be like the size requirements are the same as my current place. So like, it looks all right on paper, but you go and you're just like, well, the shape of this room isn't allowing me to actually put my bed in here, or like I can't. Where am I gonna put my games? That's and like in the packing, I have like it took me more than a day to pack up all my games. I still haven't even finished. So like I spent like 2 full days packing just games. It's fucked. Um, um, but yeah, I did find some apartments, and going through the process of getting an apartment in Japan is like not. It's not simple. Um, as you would imagine, there's a lot of faxing and I don't know paperwork and weird checks and things you have to do, because Japan, that's how things work for everything. Um, but like I had to go. So like, here is your general process. I went to the apartment, and after finding 5 apartments on the last day at the last apartment, I'm just like, you know what? I'm gonna take the first one we saw today. That's the one I'm gonna take. It's good enough, and we'll just end that. I'll take it. Just tell them I want it. So I chose the apartment that day. It's in an alright area. I mean, it's in a really convenient area. Um, and the apartment is bigger than my current apartment. It's a little bit cheaper. I've got no real complaints about the apartment besides like there's no closets, which is weird. But yeah, other than that, uh, that was kind of it on the first day of choosing the last day of choosing the apartment. And I chose the apartment, and then it started where like I had to fill out a bunch of paperwork. obviously you fill out paperwork, but this isn't paperwork to do the lease. This is like paperwork, preliminary paperwork to do a lease. Like paperwork for the lease to start the lease process or something. And then there was like background check, which you normally, like if you're renting apartments anywhere, you have a background check. That's fine. Like a credit check or whatever. I've got good credit in Japan, at least in Japan. Um, and I don't know, the check, you have to wait for the check to go through, and the check went through fine with me. I have to, like, apparently have to rewrite paperwork because my middle name is not on my credit card. I don't know. That's how it is. Um, but then I have a check, and then I have a leasing process, which means I have to go to another company that does the lease and do something there, fill out more paperwork containing all the same information that I've already filled out, and then give it to the lease company. And then after the lease process, I have to do all this other stuff, get all this kind of housing insurance, and um, update all my moving stuff. But that's normal apartment stuff. But the thing is like there's all these weird costs that you don't usually have for moving when you're not in Japan. So moving this time, let's see, let me do some quick math here. This time moving, my first month is going to cost me about 6 months of rent. Think about that. It's not like 1 month. It's not like 1 month security, 1 month rent to get in. It's like 1 month security, 1 month rent, 1 month fee to the to the realty company, 1 month fee to um, just for the hell of it, I guess. It's like gift money. Then like you have another fee for the leasing company. You've got a fee to change the locks, a fee for cleaning, a fee for insurance, a fee for basically anything, a fee for happen to be alive in this area at a certain time. I don't really know what all these fees are. I have like a big breakdown of it, but like um, I, I have no idea for some of them. And I know like it's just something I know I have to do, but I did it for all the other places too, but it's just the kind of thing you just don't you just don't expect it to be so much, even though like I know it's that much. Like I know that it's that there's all this stuff in advance, but like when it all comes down, you get the breakdown of it, you're just like, what the hell is all this stuff? Why am I paying so much? But it's kind of how it is. So the moving process itself has been generally all right. It's actually going a bit smoother than I had expected because I can do everything online now. Previously, I had to like call a bunch of companies with like shitty Japanese at the time, and now like that I can actually speak Japanese, I don't even have to call because like I can do it all online. So like I booked a moving company, and I booked it online, but they called me anyway. Fuckers. They called me and confirmed everything, and like basically just redid the entire thing I did online just with a check. Like, is this okay? Yes, this is exactly what I wrote online. Please just assume yes for all of these things, but they could not do that. And I had to do that, and I'll have to change internet services and do all this stuff. But generally, it seems like I can do that all online. So I'm not even really worried about it. It's just like all the weird kind of fees and frustration of looking for the apartment this time that I just thought I'd talk about because I'm in the midst of it. And, probably the next time you see me in a video, I'll be in a totally different place, meaning the lighting should be better because um, the new place has better lighting, which is maybe good. I don't know. Whatever. So this will be the end of this video, just some random moving stuff. So I guess I will see you guys next time, whenever that is, next month sometime when I move into my new apartment. Unless you watch the wrestling podcast, that'll be up next week or tomorrow, day after tomorrow. And then there'll be a break for that too while I'm moving. So yeah, see you guys next time.